What is up, everybody? Today we are ranking Jubilee's hero cards and then giving her an overall rank. Um, this is my own opinion of the cards, and I only did it 4 games, one in each aspect against Absorbing Man. So if it was against other villains, it might be different. Yes, I am. So if it was against different villains, these cards may be ranked something else, especially against like Stalwart, because most of her stuff is confusing and stuns. So, alright, let's get into it. First, we're going to start with her hero card, which I am putting as a 2. Her hero, 1/1/2, X-Men like totally. Resource, exhaust Jubilee, generate a wild resource. Yes. No, I am not in the loop. Okay. So I ranked her at 2 because her stats are kind of meh. I mean, you can obviously increase them, but I don't like exhausting her for her wild resource, and it's only a wild resource when I can already get a bunch of different kinds of wild resources onto the board. I mean, it was nice to use it when I needed it, but I think I would rather use her for like attack, defense, thwart kind of thing. I don't want to have to constantly use her for her resource. It's good at the start of the game, but I think later, not so much. That's why she's ranked at 2. Moving on to Alter Ego, which is also going to be 2. 3 recovery, that's normal. Mawrat action, search your deck for the shopping spree player side scheme and put it into play. Limit once per phase. So I only put it out there basically to thin my deck. I used it once or twice in order to hurry up and get my jacket and sunglasses out, because it made it a little bit quicker. But having to be an alter ego and only exhausting to remove one kind of stinks unless you have disguise. Then it gets a little bit better. But otherwise, we'll kind of talk to that when we get into that card. Moving on to shopping spree itself, which is actually a 3. Surprising, I know. No, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. We're on Wolverine. I got ahead of myself, which is also a 2. Now, I think it's a 2 because it's just kind of a small downgrade from the aggression version. I mean, the 4 is good. It's 4/1/3/4. Attack scheme piercing. After you change the alter ego form, heal 3 damage from Wolverine. That's the only difference. From the aggression, every time start your turn, he heals 1. So, I mean, you pretty much have to go back and forth with Jubilee in order to heal him a bunch. Yeah, attack for 1 and then thwart and then go back, unless you do a leadership and try to sidekick him. But I couldn't get him out onto the board and do other stuff right now. What's up, hon? It's pretty cute. Good job.
I put it up by myself.
Nice. Now, if he was on the board earlier in the game and I was playing more cards like what was it, Flash of Light, that way I could flip over without having to get schemed on, then it might be better. But I didn't get him out as often as I wanted to, so that's why he's kind of low. Then moving on to shopping spree. Shopping spree is a 3. 0 cost. Threat cannot be removed from this scheme by heroes or allies. Alter ego action. Exhaust your identity. Remove 1 threat from here. Any player may trigger this. So if it's a multiplayer, you can easily get rid of that. When defeated, the player who defeated this scheme searches their deck and discard pile for an item card and puts it into play. So this is a 3 because basically it's build support and superpower training. Kind of like superpower training, because your cloak and sunglasses are an item and you can just put them into play right away. So it's not a horrible side scheme, just the fact that you have to be an alter ego and it only removes 1 at a time. So that's like 2 turns. Unless, like I said, you have disguise. Then that's pretty good. Moving on to Jubilee's coat. Jubilee's coat I put as a 4. Scroll up because the ad's in the way. 2 cost upgrade. Item, Jubilee gets +1 thwart. After you play a thwart event, exhaust Jubilee's coat and choose a scheme. Remove 1 threat from that scheme for each different resource type used to pay for that event. So this is I think is very good. So if you're focusing on thwarting a lot with a bunch of thwart events, play it. You can essentially exhaust this to thwart off from a different scheme however many resource types you used for the other one. So if it's a 3-cost Thwart event and you used everything but mental, that's 3 threat coming off of another scheme. So you can pretty much handle the scheme, the board scheme, side schemes, pretty well with this card. Moving on to Jubilee Sunglasses, it's basically going to be the same. Mark it up as a 4. Shoots +1 attack for each attack event. Exhaust this. Deal 1 damage to that for each resource type used for that event. So this works very well with our Firecracker. Give it 2 extra damage when it does 4, so 6 damage off the bat right there. Plus, if Jubilee can attack, that's another 2, so that's 8 damage a turn. I think is phenomenal. Yeah, that's all I can have to say about that. Moving on to Blinding Flash. Blinding Flash is this one, right? I actually put it as a 3. I did not play it very often because I didn't have a lot of minions out there. But I did use it to be able to stun and confuse the villain at the time. But so it was going to be a 2 because I didn't use it that often, except when needed. Otherwise, choose X enemies, where X is the number of different resource types: energy, mental, physical, and wild, used to pay for this event. Stun and confuse each chosen enemy. So you can't overpay and have 4. It has to be 3. So you can pretty much only have 3 enemies to stun and confuse each of them, which is pretty good. That's why I bumped it up to 3. If there was that many enemies out in play. So that's a 3. Moving on to Firecracker. Firecracker, I made a 4. No image for this one. That's fine. Or we can, let's jump to All of Heroes. Firecracker, okay. 2-cost event, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If you paid for this card using 2 different resource types, stun that enemy. So pretty much as long as you're not using a basic double, you should be good to stun the enemy. So there's 3 of these in her deck, so she's pretty good at stun locking. And yeah, that's pretty good. 2 costs for 4 and a stun. I think that's pretty decent. Moving on to Flash of Light. Basically the same thing. Excuse me. Oh, it's right there. Oops, I did the wrong one. So which one was Firecracker? Okay, so Flashlight is a 4 as well. Basically for the same reason. Remove 3 threat from a scheme if you pay this using 2 different resource types. You can confuse an enemy. So, and there's 3 cards in here. So basically it's confuse locking the villain as well, which I did a lot. I think there's a game where he didn't even attack me. Or schemed against me. Did he scheme? He didn't scheme. But regardless, very good cards. All 4. Moving on to Grand Finale. Grand Finale, which I put as a 3. Hero action, deal 2 damage to the enemy for each different resource type, and in one of these you use to pay for this card, choose an enemy and deal 2 damage to it. So this can be an 8 damage card. Actually, it is an 8 damage card as long as you're using 3 different resource types. But another cool thing is you can deal 2 damage to an enemy and then deal 6 damage to a different enemy. So you could take out a minion and deal 6 damage to the villain if you so choose. It doesn't have to be the same enemy, which is nice. Which is why it's in the 3 range, but facing Absorber Man, I didn't use it that often because I wanted to do I wanted to stun him more with Firecracker if that was in my hand, or Flash of Light. I wanted to confuse him. That was more important to me than dealing 8 damage. Moving on to last Plasmoid Energy. We got 3 of them. We're just going to overall rank them. And those are going to be 3 as well because we got there's 3 in the deck. Each one has different resources: energy, mental, energy, physical, and mental, physical. So that meaning that pretty much all your cards in her deck will have 2 different resources on it already, which means they'll be able to trigger the stun, the confuse, the extra damage, and also the glasses and the jacket. So I had I had a blast playing with her. She was fantastic. A ladder up here. I didn't find any ones. Maybe. Maybe one of these. Maybe. But as of right now, her overall ranking for all these cards is an 8 out of 10. I had a blast playing her. I can't wait to play with her more often for different scenarios, of course, to see how the other cards work. But let me know in the comments what you think of her cards, what you think out of 10 she should be, what cards you think should be lower, which cards you think should be higher. And with that, I hope you guys have a great evening, and we'll see you next time. Deuces.